I saw a video recently on the Nerf Rayven, and it kind of jogged my memory on, man, yes, I like this blaster, but it made me curious and want to think more on why has the Rayven been so embraced and so coveted especially in the Nerf modding community for such a long time. It's not the most powerful thing out of the box. It's not the most comfortable thing out of the box, and it's certainly not the newest. In fact, the Rayven, if you go back to its origins in 2012, was the first N-Strike blaster to feature a flywheel system with the clip system. A lot of people assume that was the Strife. The Strife did that first for the N-Strike Elite lineup, but for N-Strike before that, just the standard yellow blasters, or in this case it was kind of that hideous green originally, this was the blaster that did it. Unfortunately, because the Rayven was also paired with the Firefly tech, which is like a glow-in-the-dark clip system that you can plug in here, the price was quite a bit higher than just a standard Strife. So even though these two blasters do the same thing, you could get a lot less and about the same type of functionality out of a Strife as you could a Rayven if you didn't really care about that glow-in-the-dark clip, which this one isn't, obviously. So they were kind of expensive from the start, and Nerf has since then released various iterations and colors of the Rayven that don't include that help keep the price down, but they've not really made any other changes to the blaster. They don't really need to. The changes of the blaster would be minimal. Maybe a little bit shorter trigger pull, maybe extend the stock out a little bit longer for larger folks like me, because this is a bit of a short stock if you ask me. It's still not bad, it's just I could use something a little bit longer here. But the Rayven has also survived very well in the modding community, not just because it's flywheel master race, but also that this is a very good blaster to use for the source of integrations. Integrations meaning essentially taking bits and pieces of other Nerf blasters, gluing them all together and painting it all up or whatever you want to do with it to make one bigger, many times multi-functioning blasters. And because the Rayven is one of the few blasters that makes use of the back portion of the blaster, it's ideal for an integration type setup without making the blaster too massive or too unwieldy. Because the batteries, the magazine storage, your flywheels, all that is behind the trigger, it leaves a lot of room up front to add on different things or to integrate this thing into other blasters. So kind of having a 2-in-1 is very common with this. That being said, this is still one of my favorites for using with my Retaliator barrel that attaches onto the N-Strike barrel adapter of the Rayven, and then I have cleverly just put a Stockade underneath. And I'm just now realizing this is kind of a neat mashup. The Stockade is based off of the Barricade blaster, which was pre-N-Strike Elite, and it was the first flywheel-driven blaster, and it is being used underneath the barrel of a Rayven, which was the first, as I mentioned, first clip-fed or magazine-fed N-Strike Elite or N-Strike flywheel blaster. So, I just realized that's kind of a neat mashup, or at least to me it is. So, the Rayven can obviously have way more complicated integrations than that, but that's just an example of what you can do with this blaster. It's actually pretty well balanced in that form that I just had a second ago, because, again, most of your weight and such is behind the trigger. So not just because bullpups are cool, not just because this has 2 sling points and is kind of compact and can be almost used as a very strong secondary in games, there's a lot of features that even though the Rayven itself may not be the best blaster in the world, but it can really help lay the groundwork for making something cool. And making something cool is what the Nerf modding community has been doing for a long time. So find a Rayven. Every time they come off shelves, the prices go up on eBay and such, and then every now and then they'll come out with a different iteration. I think there's a white one that's out now with some blue stripes on that I need to find, because I think that's pretty cool. That might look good with some of the white Retaliator pieces and such. But yeah, if you don't have a Rayven, go find one, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So just figured I'd weigh in a little bit more on why I think the Rayven has survived as long as it has, and why while it's not the most awesome blaster on its own, it can be a great platform for a lot of other stuff, for great creativity that keeps the Nerf modding community going.